According to UNWomen.org, violence against women and girls is the world's most pressing human rights violation of our time. Now, Governor Tim Walz, he just spent 30 minutes speaking in front of the Human Rights Campaign, and he did not make one mention of this pressing women's rights issue. From Walz's speech, it actually seems that the Harris-Walz team are only concerned with one human rights issue. As a matter of fact, Walz framed it as if this is the only issue that the pair has given any credence to since the both of them took their respective offices. Let's play this video and hear what Walz has to say.
Vice President Harris took on and took one of the toughest stances in the nation against hate crimes. She led the fight to end the hateful gay and transgender panic defense. We know what that leads to, and we know the countless deaths and misery that was brought upon by that. She took it on. And she also officiated some of the first same-sex marriages in the entire country. Then she went on to become the Attorney General of the largest state in the country, and the moment it arrived, to defend marriage equality. And she threw her whole self into that fight. She hasn't looked back from that day. As a U.S. Senator, she fought hard for the Equality Act, introduced a bill to make sure you ensured access to PrEP. And as Vice President, and I say this, it is not a stretch and the facts are there. This is the most pro-LGBTQ plus administration in American history. She helped President Biden pass the landmark Respect for Marriage Act, requiring every state and territory to fully honor same-sex and interracial marriage. And she helped stop the ignorant and Byzantine practice of banning gay and bisexual men from donating blood. So I have to tell you, she made human rights for LGBTQ plus individuals around the world a top priority in this nation's foreign policy.
During this 30-minute speech, Tim Walz praises all of the work that Vice President Kamala Harris has done for the LGBT community. Now, we all know where the both of them stand when it comes to the LGBT community. What I want to point out is during the entire Walz speech, he did not make any mention of the countless other human rights issues that are plaguing our community. And to be honest with you, I would say that some of these issues are way more pressing than the LGBTQ issues because they affect all of us. Issues such as homelessness, poverty, childhood poverty, human trafficking, fatherlessness, and violence against women and girls. This makes me wonder how big of a concern is women's rights issues to the Harris-Walz team. Now, much of their campaign has been built around abortion, but what about issues surrounding violence and abuse? Those are much greater issues than pro-choice issues. I would like to see them address issues as it relates to fatherlessness. Isn't it every child's right to have their own mother and their own father? Where do the Harris-Walz team stand on non-LGBTQ issues? Will the Harris-Walz White House, would it be a propaganda machine just for more LGBTQ agenda to our children? Well, in this next video, Walz, he singled out LGBT youth as the only youth in America needing our help.
Resources for LGBTQ plus youth. We know what the statistics are. They're horrific for our young people. From suicides to self-harm to all of the other things that go with it, we know that this fight is the most important fight that's on our plate.
Governor Walz somehow believed that the only youth that are in need of mental health are LGBTQ youth. I find this to be very, very, very offensive. I think it's very wrong to discriminate, especially on youth, if they're not a part of the gay community. Children of all kinds, whether they're Black, white, Hispanic, male, female, straight, or gay, they should all be given the same rights and privileges. So many of our youth, they're even feeling pressure just to identify something that they're not, just so they could feel accepted. This type of rhetoric can have very, very damaging effect on our youth and our society at large. I believe Governor Walz and Kamala Harris are very dangerous for America. Just listen to how he said he and other Democrats handled Minnesota when they were the majority.
Patrick Murphy from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, to overturn Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And was proud to be an early supporter for the Respect for Marriage Act that we finally got passed and signed into law. And so when we got the majority in Minnesota, for the first time in over a decade, we had the governor's office, we had the House, and we had the Senate by one vote. and we got busy. First thing we did is we banned conversion therapy in Minnesota. We protected transgender community and said, in Minnesota, you are seen, heard, loved, and respected, and safe in Minnesota. And we did something a little bit. We banned banning books, especially banning LGBTQ books for themes in that. Think about it in this room. This is what these folks are focusing on, spending all their time. Like reading about two male penguins who love each other is somehow going to turn your children gay, and that's what you should worry about.
This is telling me that if Walz and Harris are elected, and if we have a majority Democrat House and Senate, then we are in trouble. During his time as governor, he wasted taxpayers' dollars by placing tampons in boys' bathrooms. He made Minnesota a sanctuary city for transgenders. He gave driver license and healthcare benefits to illegals. This is not responsible behavior. In my opinion, Tim Walz is an even greater threat than Kamala Harris, with him being just one heartbeat away from the Oval Office. With a Harris and Walz White House, we will be the laughingstock on the world stage. World powers, they respect strength. And it's very, very clear that Walz does not display the strength that world leaders can respect. In the last portion of this video, Walz comes off very hypocritical as he tries to go in on Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Let's take a look.
Vance, their idea of freedom, that the government should be free to invade every corner of our lives, our bedrooms, our kids' schools, even our doctor's office. And I say this, where I come from, and I know where all of you come from, I respect my neighbor's personal choices. I wouldn't make some of the choices they make, but you know what? When it comes to personal things, bodily autonomy, your gender identity, when to start a family, marrying who you love, might sound a little bit old-fashioned on that, but I think we just need to be really good neighbors. Everyone just deserves to be treated with respect. Freedom to make that choice. And I keep reinforcing this because they talk about this. You know, there's no government's too big in all this. Big enough to be in my bedroom, apparently. Big enough to be in your uterus. Big enough to be in every library. Big enough to do that. But here's the thing. This society works best, whether it's small towns or large towns, and I say this because I bet every state could say this, but in Minnesota, things work really well because we have a saying that I talk about a lot. You know, everything works better if you just mind your own damn business and I'll mind mine. So, and it's a simple fix. You worry about your family, I'll worry about mine. It's a very simple fix.
Well, Tim, sounds like you should have taken your very own advice during your time as governor when you worried about parents making decisions for their very own families. You passed legislation that would take kids away from their parents if the parents didn't go along with your gender-affirming games. Yeah, Tim, that would have been a good time for you to worry about your family and let others worry about theirs. Here's my takeaways. Number one, Tim Walz spent nearly 30 minutes addressing the human rights campaign, and the only human rights issue that he addressed was those of the LGBTQ community, when we have children in this world suffering from hunger, women facing violence on the daily, and while we're facing a homeless epidemic here throughout the United States of America. Number two, the Harris-Walz team, they are not concerned with issues that affect those of us that are non-LGBT. My number three and final takeaway, Tim Walz is a hypocrite. He stated the importance of government not intervening in people's households. But while governor, he signed legislation that take away the rights from parents, giving the rights to the state. That is hypocritical. Let me know what you think about Tim Walz's speech on human rights. Do you think that he should focus on issues that are important to all Americans, or should he just focus on the very small minority like the LGBT community? If you like this video, then you should certainly check out this one as I give my predictions on the upcoming presidential debates. Until next time.